As he prepares to take office, Governor-elect Dan Malloy is prioritizing the goals of his administration. The former mayor of Stamford reminded its relevant that he is also a past school board member. Improving Connecticut's schools will be a vital issue, and he expects his local experiences will serve him well at the state level.
I served on the Board of Education in the city of Stamford. We've had other governors who served on Board of Education at some point in their lives, but I served on an urban Board of Education. So I understand urban issues, I think, to a higher degree, particularly around the educational issue. And I certainly understand that urban educational systems have more challenges to meet, and therefore redirecting curriculum around the acquisition of those basic skills is very important.
One of the greatest challenges in Connecticut is closing the achievement gap, the disparity in the educational performance between different groups of students.
We have the largest achievement gap in the nation. In some senses, that achievement gap is the result, again, of long-term bad decision-making, failure to hold people accountable, failure to set standards and expectations, and failure to invest in urban educational systems. It's not surprising that across the board students in Stamford, even though there's a large gap, are all performing at a higher level than they are in the other urban areas. Even at the lowest level, they're performing at a higher level. On the other hand, in a place like Stamford, the children at the top are performing to a higher level as well, so the achievement gap remains the same. What we need is an approach that raises the achievement of all of our students.
And designing this approach is one way he believes his experience in Stamford, an urban school district, will be of particular benefit to students all across Connecticut.
So that's going to be a combination of, over a period of time, changing how we finance education so that there's more money going into urban areas to close the achievement gap. Let's be honest, it costs more to educate a child in Bridgeport than it does in Darien. Because you have to overcome a larger degree of deficits. Early childhood education is one of those deficits. The number of children speaking different languages in school as opposed to home. The number of single-parent families. The number of children coming to school with some form of disability or learning difference. So we need to make wise investments in urban areas. But let's be very clear, we also have to set higher expectations for children's achievement. And we have to particularly concentrate right now.
Malloy proposed solutions to these challenges, some that he helped implement here in Stamford.
So that's my commitment to early childhood education actually comes out of my service on a state board that followed the Sheff versus O'Neill a landmark discrimination case that said that there were disparities between urban and non-urban areas, but didn't come up with a solution. Well, that commission came up with certain solutions, one of which is that early childhood education should be more broadly available. We did it in Stamford. Unfortunately, it wasn't done anywhere else, or wasn't done in significant percentage or numbers anywhere else. That's one of the things I want to see replicated. And we have to particularly concentrate right now on pre-K through third grade. And no child should leave third grade in the state of Connecticut more than perhaps a few months behind in their reading and math skills. So we really have to redirect our whole curriculum. Some children do very well in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, devoting 50 minutes per day to reading skills. But we now know that 50 minutes per day devoted to reading skills leaves a large percentage of our urban children behind in reading. And yet we haven't changed the curriculum to double or triple or quadruple the amount of time spent on basic accumulation of reading and math skills. So one of the things that we're going to look at, and I'm going to try to drive, is this idea that you need to have different curriculums for different children, and that you particularly have to devote more time to the acquisition of reading and math skills through third grade, so that everybody goes into fourth grade when work gets particularly more complicated, so that everyone enters fourth grade at least meeting the minimum standards.
And education does not just affect Connecticut students. Malloy included the quality of education and the effectiveness of our schools as critical issues when attracting and retaining business in the state as well.
I mean, listen, there are lots of stakeholders, and some of those stakeholders are corporations who legitimately have a concern about a number of things: how much they are or not being taxed, the state of infrastructure that they rely on, and whether they're going to have the workforce, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years from now that justifies their staying or expanding in the state of Connecticut. Well, on that latter point, the corporations and every stakeholder is invited to have input on what we need to do to improve education in Connecticut.